Imagine if you stopped thinking that you cannot make Christian content that honors God because you're embarrassed. You think that other people are going to judge you. While creating content, you're given confidence in who you are, and you see that sharing His word and His truth can really actually change other people, and that's why you do so. And then there's reality. There's where you are at. You sit there feeling hopeless, and you wonder why it feels so hard to just sit down and record a video talking about your relationship with God. So stop scrolling around, because that's going to be the easy thing to do, because this is a long video and I'm talking to you about what is valuable and what is important. And so if you're able to listen, you will gain so much value to be able to apply to your life and be able to apply to YouTube content. So here are 5 things that help me make my YouTube content while honoring God in the process, scaling from 0 to almost 1,000 subscribers. So step 1 is to see the pool. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there is a specific pool of people that you've been made to serve, that you are meant to serve while creating your content, that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about creating a video. Imagine your past life. Imagine your old self. Put yourself daily in His shoes, that version of you, in that person's shoes, and figure out the problems that you had to solve to get to the point that you are now. And so what I do every single day is I look back at the things that I had to solve to be able to get to the point that I am now, and I solve those problems for you. I talk about how I solve those problems, and so I have the solutions, right? And so finding your pool to be able to find your audience and who you are going to serve, you can look at the problems you have already solved in your life, and you can be encouraged to solve more problems, right? After I started solving these problems for other people, then I started going to the gym more, then I started reading books more, because now I'm creating more solutions and more pathways to be able to succeed, so that I have more solutions for myself to be able to tell you how to get there. And so it's constantly improving and constantly getting ahead of yourself yesterday, where you were at yesterday, and being able to solve the problems that you had yesterday. And that's how you see the pool. Now, step 2 is get out of the shell. I know all these names are kind of ridiculous, but you'll understand. So think of a snail. It grows inside of its shell. It lives in its shell. That's its home. It's used to being in a shell, right? The shell is big, and as it grows and grows, it becomes smaller and smaller. It had been comfortable all of its life. He had been comfortable in his shell growing up. But then he notices that it's just getting smaller and tighter and more uncomfortable. So what does he have to do? He has to find another shell. He has to get out of the shell that he's already in, that he's been in all of his life. He has to change the environment. And what does that take? Vulnerable to get hurt, he has to get out of his shell and get into a bigger shell, a bigger environment, more opportunity. And this is exactly what your life is going to look like a lot of times. You're going to have to step into a new shell, step into a new environment. If you feel like you can't work at home, go to a coffee shop. If you feel like the coffee shop doesn't work, find a park. Do something that is going to change the environment, that's gonna help you actually center yourself on God, center yourself on focus, on the best, most optimized focus that you can have, depending on where you are. And so think about what is going to help you and where that is going to be, where that location is going to be. So I have a verse for this. It is Ephesians 4:22 through 24. It says, "You were taught with regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. And so you've been made new. You've been made a new creation. You've been born again in God. And so if you can think about that, if you can think about, I've been born again, I've been created new, and so how can I reflect being created new in my environment, in what I'm spending my time on, in who I am around, in my physical environment, in my spiritual environment, in my mental environment. If you focus on the environment, where you're being placed, where you're placing yourself, God can be at the center of that. It just depends on whether you're willing to make the decision that He's going to be there or not. And so change the shell that you're in. Move into the vulnerable, through the vulnerable, and move into the safe spots. Move into the safe shell. And I promise you, you will be fulfilled and you will be safe. And so walk in the new self God has made you to be. Walk in that new self. Walk in that new light. And I promise you that you will feel safe. And you will feel like you are capable of making this content. Because you don't care what other people think. You care about what He thinks. And that's all we need to know, is that He cares so much about us. The world could hate us, but He cares about us so deeply. And so step 3 is core beliefs plus core systems. So focus on the things you are believing because they control your actions. Beliefs is something that I have really had to focus on. I've really had to notice in myself. I even got a journal from my girlfriend for my birthday. Turned 18. And I started writing out stuff about my beliefs. And I'm using that just for beliefs. That whole journal just for beliefs. And it's because beliefs is something that we don't think about much, but it's something that is wired into us through what we consume, through what we take in. And we're consuming the wrong kind of things. We're watching short-form content and destroying our brains. We're consuming all this junk. There's so many men addicted to porn. It's horrible. We're all failing. We're all consuming the wrong kind of things and destroying our brains and wondering why we're so lost. And so think about how your beliefs affect your actions. So when you watch short-form content, what actions does that contribute to? Does that contribute to you grabbing more junk food? Does that contribute to you having low-quality relationships? What does it contribute to? And connect each action with a reaction, right? Like in physics, everything, I forget the exact wording for it, but it's like there's an opposite and equal reaction, right? For every action, there's opposite and equal reaction. And so God has created the world like this. And so if you can notice that in your actions, in your daily actions, and in what you're doing, you're going to be able to see, oh, maybe this bad thing is causing this bad thing to show up in my life. So if I get rid of this bad action, how is it going to change my environment, right? Going back to environment. So James 2:26 says, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. And so you can have faith. Faith is so important, to have faith in God and know that He is going to show up for you. But you need to act. You need to have deeds and you need to have action. And you are not saved by your good deeds, but you can live the life you have been called to and just see the success naturally come. If you're called to a certain kind of life and you just accept it by God, you just walk in it, you will find success. There will be times of complete and utter just confusion. Like I was broke last week and I didn't know what I was doing. And so that's not reflecting back on myself, the person I want to be, right? I want to be successful. But being broke does not mean that I do not have God. And so I can go back to that and I can think about, okay, what is God saying inside of this? Who am I becoming? And what kind of actions do I need to take to glorify Him? Because faith without deeds is dead. And so I need to have faith in that God is going to show up, but I also need to act. You can't just have faith and not act. And so that's what you have to do. And now, step 4, this is like a very simple step. It's a very straightforward, actionable step. All it is read Proverbs. Read Proverbs. And what do I mean by this? Like, why read Proverbs? Isn't it a pretty short book? And the thing is that Proverbs is written by Solomon. Solomon was one of the wisest men in the Bible. And he wrote all these kind of things, talking about wisdom, talking about the wise man, and talking about how he basically uses an analogy of like the wise woman and the woman of folly, or the woman of temptation. And so he goes back and forth between those. But there's so many rules, there's so many laws that you can apply to your own life to walk in the life that God is calling you to. And so today is August 9th. And so that means that I read, sorry, I don't know why I glitched out for a second. I read chapter 9 in Proverbs. And so what you do is you just align the day with the chapter, right? You align the day with the chapter. And so if it's August 9th, you read Proverbs 9. If it's July 9th, you read Proverbs 9. You just align it with the day. You read through it in the morning, and you write down like 2 sentences on what you can apply for the day. Applications for that day. And I promise you that it will change you. It'll start changing you. And so I read chapter 9, and verse 9 says, "Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning." So I'm teaching you, righteous man. I believe you to be a righteous man. And I really think you are a follower of Jesus if you have been watching this far, but possibly not. But you are wise that you are choosing to listen to this, because this is all based upon the Bible. And the Bible is the most important thing that we could base any of our knowledge on, because it is wisdom. It is God's words. And so if you do seek instruction, if you do seek wisdom, you're able to be disciplined, you're able to be corrected. It says that in chapter 9. If you're able to be corrected and you take that in and you love the person for correcting you, you are wise. And so I applied that for today. I'm holding on to that for today. I added it into my video, and I can go about today thinking about those things in chapter 9. And so use this as a start in Bible time, and also to apply to video, in creating content, in making these videos. And then step 5, the final step, is stop trying to stay consistent. Stop trying to stay consistent. What in the world am I saying? Well, think about how you have been trying so hard to stay consistent. You get so all up in your mind about staying consistent. I was so depressed and so annoyed at myself and felt like I was nothing. Felt like I was worthless because I wasn't staying consistent. And what does that do to my brain? Like that was hurting me so much. And so I wanted to think of this analogy. So boy meets girl. So a boy likes a girl, and he leans in really far, and he is really pushy. Now what is she gonna do? She's gonna lean out. She's gonna run, right? She's gonna be scared, freaked out. And now girl meets boy. She really likes the boy, and she's really leaning into him. And now he's creeped out and he's gonna run away. And as soon as they meet each other and they kind of like each other, it's going good, but the guy kind of leans out Now the girl's going to lean in because that's how it works. That's how it works. That's a principle of life that you don't have to. You don't have to be constantly leaning in. You don't have to be constantly obsessing over the fact that you need to be consistent and that you need to have it all together. You need to lean out and lean on God. Let God catch you. Let Him hold you in the palm of His hand and let Him guide you where you need to go. Let Him be the center of your content and what you're doing on YouTube, what you're creating, and just come up with a system. Come up with systems to make content, make it easier for yourself so you're not spending all day, so you're not in this rut every single day. Make it a thing that is glorifying to God, that is something that is fun, that is being creative, like He has made you to be. You are creator out of His creation, and so live in the creator you're supposed to be, and create things that have meaning, create things that inspire other people, create things that make a difference in your own life and in other people's lives. And so if you'd like how to learn how to create content and brand your content, personal branding, learn complete personal branding, I made a free course in the link down below. I have my free community, and inside there you can get the video. And I hope that this whole video helped you be able to learn how you can actually start creating content that is around your purpose as a man, and that is actually talking to people about God and incorporating biblical values into your videos. So I hope this helped. Have a great rest of your day. Okay, I'll see you in the free community. See you there. Bye.